Uzi, how are you?
I'm all right. Um, just looking at the news. It's a lot today.
There's a lot going on in the news today for sure. Dallas, how are you?
Hey, good, Yaman. How are you?
I'm good. We have Eli in the audience. He sent me a message and said he is tuning in from a shelter right now. There's a lot going on. Uzi, can you give us an update on what's going on in the Middle East?
I don't know if it's confirmed that it's a ballistic missile, but Iran is raining down missiles. I can send a video in the chat of what it looks like. But yeah, all we know is that all Israeli civilians are in shelters right now.
Yeah, Eli posted a video as well. Let me see if I can pin this up here. 20 minutes ago, Eli posted 4 videos showing missiles flying over and says we are under attack. Dallas?
Yeah, it's really unfortunate what's going on. And days like today highlight the importance of platforms like X with community notes, because I've already seen 3 or 4 cases of videos that people are sharing that clearly are not from today's attacks and are immediately community noted to, prove legitimacy or delegitimacy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we have Ellie who's on the ground right now. Ellie, are you able to talk?
Yeah.
What's going on? Can you give us an update?
Yeah, so I posted 2 videos on the blue pill or in the blue pill. One of them is just before the attack, and the second will be right when the air raids were on. And in the video, you can see like maybe 3,000 of missiles, ballistic missiles coming from Iran, multi directions, west, north, east, all over. It was crazy. It was chaotic. You could hear the bombs. You could hear missiles falling down. You could hear the interceptions. And we fled. Me and my wife fled to a better place where we can be safe. So we all safe now, but the situation is quite crazy. It's like, it's just like war, and I will keep you posted.
I'm sorry, Ellie, for what you're going through. I hope that things get better soon. I posted in the top in the nest Ellie's videos of missiles flying over his head. That is incredible. Ellie, any details you can share? Uzi said, I don't know if these are ballistic missiles. Are they? And also, why does that matter?
Well, they're coming from Iran, so they coming from far away, so they have to fly high. So you could see it almost in every place in Israel, all over the country. So we have more time to interpret them, but they shot like a couple of hundreds. So, they're bigger, more powerful, and they can create and make way, way more damage than what the guys from Hezbollah and Hamas has. So way more dangerous, but we expected that. Like from a few hours ago, the government already said to cancel everything we have just to seek shelter. And right now we anticipating another wave in a few more minutes. So if I will be here, I might be able to share it with you. Not that you want to hear it, but if you choose to.
Ellie, we have a question for you from YouTube. The Real Zertek asks, please ask how he compares this attack to April.
So whatever happened in April 14, I was asleep. It was in the middle of the night. Nothing really happened. I fell asleep around 8 p.m. I woke up around 6 a.m. I opened up the news channel, news media, and nothing actually happened. Like, everything was intercepted. Right now, I'm telling you, I couldn't, I wanted to keep filming, but I felt that I'm putting myself in danger for the first time in my life. Like you could hear everything shook around me, everything shook. It was crazy. And also 8 people got killed in Tel Aviv within the hour. So yeah, it's a bit different.
So this one is a bigger attack. The Real Zertek also said in live chat that Iran launched hundreds of ballistic missiles at Israel, lots of impact, but he's unsure, Eli, maybe you can clarify this, if that's by design or not, because the dome won't hit missiles that will just hit the land.
So that's true. Basically, the Iron Dome is a very good system that we can. Yeah, my wife here worked for the guy who deployed the Iron Dome. She can explain more about it. But basically, they won't intercept anything that won't endanger the people. So if it's gonna be in open space, water, some uninhabited areas, it will let it fall. Otherwise, it will intercept.
Well, thank you, Ali, for the updates, and we wish you well. Stay safe, and if there's anything we can do, please let me know. Uzi.
Yeah, politically in the United States, Trump made a post on True Social maybe half an hour ago, but we haven't heard anything from Kamala. And as you can imagine, Trump was blaming the Biden administration for these attacks.
Okay, thank you, Ellie. Uzi. Yeah, that's wild, man. Wild, what's going on in the world. I don't want to get political, but under the previous administration, these things did not happen. So, all right. Uzi, have you heard from your contact at Palantir about any dates that may work?
No, I've not. He reached out to me though yesterday, so it seems like he's interested. Just for everyone's context, he's the one who makes the product demo videos. Chad.
Okay, great. So hopefully he can join at some point this week or next week, and we can ask him some questions. So in the meantime, I would really like it if people can come up and share their views of the company. Maybe we can do like a pre-interview kind of discussion, and then when he joins, we're more informed in that way. Uzi?
Yeah, I don't know if you talk about defense, but I know Palantir is very involved in this geopolitical conflict as a backer of the West. But I doubt he'll be able to answer at that. So I expect the conversation to be focused on products for the most part.
Okay, understood. Note taken. Duly noted. Thank you. Omar, welcome. How are you?
Hey, doing good.
Good. Welcome. And we were just talking about what's happening in Israel right now. Iran attacking Israel with hundreds of ballistic missiles, and there seems to be more some casualties this time, as opposed to the attack in April. What are your thoughts on this geopolitical escalation?
Well, we need American leadership to help de-escalate this conflict before it erupts into something that roils energy markets and undoes our progress towards reaching our 2% target. Unfortunately, instead of leadership, we have a senile old man. So probably the chance of Joe Biden de-escalating this conflict is small. But hopefully somebody can.
Thanks, Omar. Ella, did you have any additional comments?
No, it's just in the shelter. I have no connection, so I dropped. Sorry.
Totally understandable. Uzi?
Yeah, so yesterday I was watching Joe Linesdale, the co-founder of Palantir's interview with some guy named Rav Aurora, and Joe was talking about how Kamala is not willing to, I guess, and back up her escalation and sort of quote unquote like half-ass that, and so the adversary doesn't take the threat seriously. So peace is harder to find, and then any threat of escalation is not taken seriously. I think that's one perspective that sort of aligns with the Trumpian point of view.
Yeah, if anybody is following Israel versus Iran conflict closely, Russia also chimed in today and said, calling on Israel to pull ground troops out of in Lebanese. So, if anybody's following this closely and can give us an update and share their views on the likely path forward, please request to speak. Wes, are you following this closely?
I'm playing a little catch up right now.
Okay. Omar noted that we need leadership from the U.S. government to calm down the escalation. We are seeing some impact on the oil markets today. Oil prices are surging above $70 per barrel. They were as low as 67. So this is the first time we're seeing a bit of an impact on energy markets. Actually, they're now at $72 per barrel. So this is going to impact energy prices in September and October, and inflation figures in October as well. Yeah, sad times. All right, changing topics for now. If anybody has any comments, please request to speak. Omar, everybody's talking about the port closures on the East Coast. That started at midnight. And if it lasts for a few days, let alone for a few weeks, we can start seeing some impact because of how efficient these supply chains are. And we can see impact globally. But before we go to that, let's go to Jimmy real quick. Jimmy?
Yeah, I had a question that kind of played into what we're going to see with the oil markets. What are we looking at as an outcome of subsidizing EV chargers across the US? I've heard very mixed stories on this, where the Harris Biden want to subsidize EV charging, which would obviously push the EV forward, and Trump is not for that at all. What are your guys' thoughts?
That's a good question. Time the question as well. We had the VP debate tonight. I'm going to be watching for any sort of comments around EVs and transition to sustainable energy. I don't know if it's going to be a material topic or primary topic, but it didn't come up in the last presidential debate, so maybe it will come up this time. Omar, what are you going to be watching, and specifically about Jimmy's question on EV chargers?
Yeah, I'll be checking it out. It'll be really interesting to hear from both candidates, see where they stand. I think we don't know them as well as the presidential candidate, so that'll be kind of interesting. In terms of the EV charging, when the federal government gets involved in anything, they often make a complete mess of it, right? So if the federal government got involved, they'd probably say, hey, you can install a charger, but only the sort of obsolete standard or whatever. So the government help is nice when they can provide it, but often you don't really want them involved. A lot of state governments and utilities are already subsidizing EV charger installation. For example, I just installed an EV charger, and my local utility, Southern California Edison, and the LA Department of Water and Power, the other major utility here in SoCal, they both will pay for your EV charger installation because they know that it's just good for their business. So, yeah, hopefully we can continue to see that. We need to really build out infrastructure so we can be energy independent and have an economy that's resilient to supply shocks like what we're seeing in the Middle East. Like, naturally, you can think, okay, if this conflict expands and then people start putting sanctions on Iran, okay, now we're not allowed to get Iranian oil. Now there's less supply, maybe even other countries. Maybe OPEC takes action. So we want to be energy independent. We want to get chargers installed. We want to have that infrastructure so our economy isn't as dependent on these fluctuations of oil prices that could be, due to some war in the Middle East. Now it's more expensive for an American to get around.
Yeah. Thank you very much. We have a couple of hands. We have Bradford on the board. We have a lot to talk about today, from the VP debate to Figure AI versus Optimus to East Coast port closures to comments and strikes around the world and geopolitical risks in the Middle East. But before that, I want to say a quick word of thank you to our sponsors. And in the meantime, it is very important, very, very important for people on X Space, in the X Space, to go up, please, to the top of your screens, click the YouTube link and like the video. This is very important to grow the channel. All right, so please take a moment to do that while I read the sponsorship ads in this space. Tesla Live is proudly sponsored by Joa, your go-to source for premium Tesla accessories. Because you're part of the Tesla Live community, Joa is hooking you up. Use code TSLA Live for a special discount. And this link is at the top of our screens as well. Paymore buys, sells, trades, and recycles old electronics because Paymore believes the best technology doesn't have to come at the cost of our planet or your wallet. Join the Paymore revolution. Visit one of their 100 stores near you or visit paymore.com. And thank you, Hollis, again, day after day. She is tipping via super chats on YouTube. Thank you very much. Let's go to Uzi, then Jimmy, then Bradford.
Yeah, with the debate, I don't expect them to talk about charging too much, or if anything, especially with the news of today. I do expect JD Vance to be a little bit more polished. I will say, though, my philosophy is the government should not be providing it like the service with charging. It should be uh, running the bidding process to get the cheapest offer possible, so that the best provider can install a solution. Um, the more, I guess, resilient we are to supply shocks, the better the economy will be.
Thank you. And thank you for those of you who are liking the video. We doubled the number of likes within a minute. Jimmy, go ahead.
Yeah, I noticed that the CEO of Ford, Jim Farley, is now giving away free EV chargers with every purchase of a vehicle. Not that Tesla has to do this, because Tesla can sell anything, a mug that says Tesla on it. But do you see Elon or Tesla following suit to get more EV chargers out there to widen this EV push across the nation?
Omar, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. Actually, no, I wasn't listening.
Jimmy is asking if Elon is going to follow suit with Jim Farley in giving out EV chargers for free.
No, you don't need to give out EV charge. I mean, it's a sales incentive, right? So, like, you come up with these different promotions, whether you're giving low interest financing or hey, we'll install your charger or whatever. It doesn't really matter, $500 here, $500 there. I mean, it's kind of a nice incentive in a way because people don't really know how to install it, and it can be kind of expensive depending on your electrical system. But most people can charge just off an outlet that they already have. Like even just taking your EV home for the first time, a normal 110-volt outlet will do. Maybe you can upgrade that with an electrician to 220. I think really what we need to focus on is simplifying and lowering the cost of an EV charger installation and making it super simple. Um, so the mobile connector, they've got that I think for like $250. You can take that, plug it into an outlet you already have. It's dead simple. You don't even need an electrician in most cases.
Exactly. And we say this often in this space. Charging is not really the limiting factor except on psychology. But it's going to take time, and it's going to take a lot of repetition in terms of saying these things to people and sharing that with your friends, family, colleagues to get the word out. Charging is really not the limiting factor in terms of EV adoption. Superchargers do a great job. Like Omar said, you can charge it at any plug really at your house, and you can get 50, 60, 70 miles overnight, which is really what most people need for their daily need. And now just rely on the supercharger network for long trips. And if you install one of the faster home chargers at your house, then you can get a full charge basically overnight, and you wake up to a full tank. We just have to get the word out. All right, Bradford.
Well, I'll provide a little counterpoint to what Ford's doing. I think a lot of people don't know how much it costs. And for most people, setting your garage up for 210-volt charging is only $500, but I think people assume like it's a couple $1,000s. So I think that's a good reason for Ford to just handle it. It takes a question off the table for people. when you look back at the Biden administration and supercharging, nationwide, I think I agree. Like we should totally support the lowest cost solution, just like we should with Starlink for rural internet. But it seems to me that the government wants to give the money to everyone but Tesla. There was this rumor that came out initially when Biden was saying they're going to do 500,000 superchargers nationwide. And the rumor was that like they were limiting Tesla to 7,500 of that 500,000, and they wanted Tesla to put payment systems on it and all this janky BS. Yeah, I wouldn't expect anything from the Biden administration with supercharging relating to Tesla. Um, I did get FSD for the Cybertruck today. Got it this morning. I drove it for 3+ hours. It's really good on the interstate. I love it. It no longer panics around semis that are like touching the line closest to you. Generally, when it's exiting the highway, it's a very smooth. So it's not like diving into that exit ramp as soon as it can, and like in a way that's kind of jarring. Um, so that's been my experience. I have this spot where I can test it over and over like a 1.5 mile stretch and just keep on doing it back and forth, and it was great every time. Um, it's it's a little janky with roundabouts right now. Like it's putting that left rear tire over the curb on the inside the center of the roundabout. Um, they got to clean that up, but like overall, like my Cybertruck got me to and from work without disengagements. Um, and it's very smooth overall. It's not quite as smooth as Model X driving in roundabouts, so it does it in like it, it does the turn in like two motions. So like there's this kind of hiccup in between. So there's some things that ideally should be cleaned up. I did have a safety critical disengagement. I drove over like 100 roundabouts, so it was bound to happen where there was a merge coming up and there wasn't enough room, and the Cybertruck was going for it, and there was like a car right next to me where we really needed to back off, and so I had a safety critical. If I kept going, I could have like pushed him.
Yeah.
So just extremely encouraged that Tesla was able to figure this out for Cybertruck, and I think it's got a lot of good stuff going for it.
All right, great. That's good positive feedback. I mean, we talked about this in yesterday's episode as well. Very encouraging that Tesla team was able to adopt FSD onto a completely new form factor for Cybertruck. I think it has really good positive implications for the future. If you have any questions for Bradford, Omar, Ellie, or anyone else on the board, please request to speak. I see a hand up from Wessex.
Hey, Yaman, I just got the full self-driving on the Cybertruck too. I don't know if you want to kind of stay on that topic for a minute or do something else. Just thought I'd share some
Absolutely.
thoughts.
Yeah, let's talk about FSD on Cybertruck. Yeah.
It's amazing, absolutely amazing. I've had FSD for many, many years. I was an early beta tester, not like Omar, but I've had it for a long time, and it's honestly been really disappointing for me, just to provide some context, because I have an older Model S with hardware 3, and I did not get 12.5 until a week ago. And it's been great. I've only tried it a few times, but the truth is, I love driving my Cybertruck because it's absolutely amazing. I've had it for about 5 months now, and so I'm going on a trip soon with some family, and I was just hoping it would come out in the next few weeks before I went on that trip. And for it to come out yesterday, man, props to the AI team for that. I just really appreciate it. But here's what happened. So I drove it today a few times. I did not do the interstate yet, but it drove great. There was a couple times I had to take over, But the experience of driving this larger vehicle with full self-driving is amazing. And something Omar said a lot was a real breakthrough for me. This is the first time I've experienced not having to, or no nag, because my hardware 3 requires that I touch the wheel. So today, for the first time, I'm driving around and this thing's going everywhere for miles and miles and miles, and I'm doing nothing. I'm like, this is crazy. So I'm loving it. It wasn't perfect. A couple small things, no big deal. I expect to iron them out. I can go into detail on that, but it's probably not that helpful.
Detail is always helpful, but let me get to a couple of other reviews real quick, and then we'll come back to you for details. Habib is an early great supporter of the space. Thank you, Habib, for your support on Patreon and elsewhere. Habib, did you get FSD on your Cybertruck?
Yeah, I got FSD on my Cybertruck. Thank you for that warm introduction. 12.5.5, and it is a phenomenal version. I echo the sentiments from the other speakers. The vehicle is so smooth in its negotiations of complex maneuvers. The acceleration and deceleration is very smooth. There's very minimal hesitancy, I've noticed. It's going across 4 lanes of traffic to make unprotected left turns very, very smoothly, aggressively at the same time, where it's not waiting forever, where you need like absolute clearance. It's driving very natural like. However, the one problem continues to remain at 12.5.5 is when we're arriving to our destination, it's still not stopping at the correct location. And so, that's something that I think they definitely have to work on when they come to robotaxi, or at least maybe they'll slow down and stop the vehicle in the general vicinity of the destination. But it's still missing plazas, turning into the wrong plazas. That's something I've noticed is consistent across the versions.
Thank you, Habib. And I'm going to read a feedback from Steve on YouTube live chat. Steve is also a great supporter of the space for the last 2 years and also a moderator in live chat. He says, my Cybertruck FSD feedback is this. It's very similar on city streets to my Model Y on 12.5.4, which to me is a big win. Did not expect the first cut to perform just as well as other vehicles. That's very good feedback. All right, we have 2 other new speakers here. Let's go to Mayi. Mayi, go ahead.
Hey, Omar, my comments were on your question in regards to Israel. But if you're talking about Cybertruck, I can skip.
Let's wait on that in a second. And then let's go to Samir Shah.
Hey, good afternoon, Yaman. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Hey, thanks for bringing me on the speaker board. I've actually enjoyed listening to your live episode. I actually shifted my lunch hour to coincide your 1 o'clock Eastern time zone, so I really enjoy listening to this live talk. The question
That's
I have
amazing. That is so incredible to hear. Thank you so much. What's your question?
The question is not on the Cybertruck, but a little bit more on the Powerwall side. As everybody's experienced, there are a little bit of storm in the southeast. We've been battered with no power. My question is it possible to use the large battery we have as a power source? I know there may be some hardware lacking to extract power out of the battery, but is there any kind of retrofit which may be possible to extract juice out of the existing battery?
Omar, what do you think?
Yeah, so there are new vehicles starting with Cybertruck support PowerShare, so they have power outlets on them, and the same NACS port used to charge your car can actually send power back to the house. But that's only on Cybertruck. There isn't going to be an official retrofit available for older vehicles, but going forward, new vehicles should have them. So that'll be handy. Tesla's selling a ton of Powerwalls. They just announced today 750,000 Powerwalls installed worldwide, which is pretty nuts. And they're also installing a lot of PowerShare. So I think when you see what's happening with these natural disasters, it is something that can make a big difference to have. So I bet you as people recover, you're going to see a lot more power walls and power share wall connectors set up.
Very good.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And we talked about this topic a couple episodes ago too in detail. And if you haven't gotten a chance, I believe it was the Friday's episode. So that would be 190. Let's go to Jimmy, then Omar.
FSD cyber.
Jimmy, your connection is horrible. Omar?
Yeah, I just wanted to say on the FSD Cybertruck topic, I got FSD on the Cybertruck as well, and I've driven it. By the end of today, I'll have driven it 1,000 miles. So about 800 of that on the highway doing long distance driving, about 200 miles cities driving. And it is just incredible. After 10,000 miles and months of driving the Cybertruck manually, it is really nice to have FSD. It's not as good as FSD on the other cars yet, but it's 90% there. It behaves just like FSD on the other cars. And compared to having nothing, it's like, a godsend. So, and then, FSD on the Cybertruck, especially FSD with no nag, it's almost the best vehicle for FSD in a way. As it gets better, especially, I mean, it's just so comfortable and so nice to ride around in it. You're like, wow, this is a really great experience. So I'm really glad that they got that out, not only to early access testers, but to everybody. It seems like all the Foundation Series customers are going to get early access FSD updates. So that's another reason to plop down for a Foundation Series if you're obsessed with FSD. Finally, I'll mention for Wes Hicks, I would recommend he try his Hardware 3 car with 12.5 a little more. It should run even better than his Cybertruck, and it has no nag.
With 6?
Yeah, Omar, I've got hardware 3 on that, so I think I still have the nag.
No, it doesn't matter if you have Hardware 3 or Hardware 4. Both are
Well, I'm
running
sorry.
the exact same software.
I'm sorry. I don't have an interior camera.
Oh, is that what is it? A Model
It's
S?
it's a Model S 2017.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, unfortunately. Hey, I do want to add something about PowerShare, if I may, Yaman.
Yeah, I will in a second. Just on FSD on Cybertruck, there's a comment in YouTube live chat that FSD on Cybertruck is still not perfect, as Omar also said, but he said it's 90% of the way there. So people must stay vigilant and still monitor their vehicles. You're still responsible in the driver's seat. So just a word of caution. And Hustletown, thank you very much for moderating and replying to
If you're
questions.
used to FSD on other vehicles, you got to be a little more cautious. You'll notice in the release notes it says this is an early access build. So this is a build that normally they would not send out widely. If you're getting this, you're in the early access program for Cybertruck, so to speak. So be extra cautious, but it's not that bad. When I was reading the release notes, I was like, wow, this is going to suck, because it said upcoming improvements in parking lots, improvements on intersections and stop signs. I was like, well, okay, if it's not working in parking lots well, if it's not working at intersections, where is it working? But then I turned it on and it was like, okay, this is actually pretty good. But it does seem to need a little more training, a little more data that's Cybertruck specific, so that it can match the performance of the other vehicles. And I have no doubt it'll not only match but exceed the performance of other vehicles in time.
Excellent. Wessex, go ahead.
Yeah, just regarding the PowerShare and the Cybertruck, one of the things I'm really blown away with, I'm currently going through a quote process with electricians to install PowerShare, and I'm in some groups online, and it looks like the average price, on the low end, is about 4,000. Everybody's house is different. The box is a little bit further away or closer in some places, or maybe you have a lot of air conditioners, for example, and you need a lot of extra things that are involved with the quote. My quote's like 7,500 or something for the install. And again, so I'm seeing about 4,000 to 8,000 cost for the PowerShare. What I'm blown away with is the cost savings if you buy a Cybertruck instead of doing Powerwalls. I know we talked about this the other day, but it's just fascinating that you have a 123 kilowatt hour battery sitting right there And for 4 to say $7,000 or $8,000, you've got access to this size battery backup for the house. So when anybody's thinking about getting a Powerwall in the future, I would really rethink that. Maybe not, not avoid it. Maybe get one, because if you're not at home, obviously when a power goes off, that's a different issue, particularly if your family's there, et cetera. But man, the value is pretty striking.
Man, we have a lot of good topics and great speakers today on the board. Let's go to Bradford, then Omar, then Habib.
That's a great point, Wes. I hadn't thought about it that way, and I think I'm going to do the power share now. I hadn't decided yet. I took my Cybertruck delivery in late March, and I was thinking about getting a tent for my girls, and now I'm definitely going to get the power share. So thanks for blowing my mind that way. I just want to say how excited I am for end to end on the highway for people to get that. When we drove from California to New York and back, our biggest grievance was with version 11 on the highway. And as Omar said yesterday, a lot of feedback he was getting from people about version 12 was about highway issues, is about version 11, not having that end-to-end solution in the highway. So I'm really excited for people to see that and experience it.
Very good. Omar, then Habib, then Dallas.
Yeah, if you are considering getting power share, the Cyber Beast includes installation free. So you might think, oh, okay, well, installation free. How much could installation be? Well, it could be $4,000 to $8,000. So if you're on the fence, that might be something that could tip you towards getting the Cyber Beast. And then, in terms of home battery backup, if you want to get a Powerwall installed, you're looking at probably at least $20,000 or more. And if you can install it, I recommend getting both, getting a power share and the wall connector with power share. But if you're not, ridiculously rich, and $20,000 is a lot of money for you, like it is for probably 99% of people, $4,000 will get you the home backup. Granted, your car needs to be there, but it's a lot more capacity than a Powerwall, and you can just plug it into any car, any battery system, and it'll back up your home. So from that perspective, it really is the lowest cost option to get battery backup for your home.
Very good. Let's go to Habib.
So, lots of respect always goes to Omar and his full self-driving experience. And I'll tell you, normally I'm always voicing how Omar's experience on the West Coast is different than my experience here on the East Coast in New Jersey. I've done about 250 miles on the Cybertruck on FSD, mostly suburban roads, city roads, and some highway. And I finally actually feel that this vehicle with FSD is driving like the experience that Omar's been having in California in his other vehicles. So I know he was saying that it's, he's a little bit more cautious with it. I have found this to be the best version of FSD that I've ever experienced before.
Wow, that's hell of a comment from Habib. Best version of FSD that he's ever experienced on his Cybertruck. Very interesting comment.
Everybody gets Elon mode. Remember when people used to talk about Elon mode? Everybody's got Elon mode now. And now everybody's getting whole Mars mode. Zero intervention drives.
Okay. If you want whole Mars mode, please go to the top of our screens and like the YouTube video. Good. Omar says that you get whole Mars mode if you like the YouTube video. I really love how our community is growing, and your insights make this community space special. So if you're enjoying the discussion, please give it a like. It's not just about the numbers. This really impacts the visibility of the channel. Like right now, it's even hard to find Tesla Live on YouTube. So likes and subscriptions really matter on YouTube. We have to kind of get over this hump. Dallas.
You're curious if PowerShare is something that can be activated for the rest of the sexy fleet on like via software update or a retrofit, or is that like only something that the Cybertruck's going to get?
No retrofits for older vehicles, but it will be standard on all vehicles going forward.
Jimmy.
Cybertruck FSD owners, I'm very curious to know, what is it like to break out of FSD with steer-by-wire?
It takes a little more travel on the steering wheel than you'd expect, but you get used to it. You actually don't need to apply more pressure. It's just a slightly more travel.
Habib.
As far as being a passenger sitting in the driver's seat supervising, it's completely like there's no difference whatsoever in a steer by wire, in my opinion, compared to a regular steering column. It drives very well. It's actually even smoother, in my opinion, because the steer by wire is I found it to be so sensitive at slow speeds. The car, even if you just want to make a slight turn, it's very jerky, and it's very smooth and a great driving experience. I've been driving on FSD nonstop since I've gotten it. It's such a great experience so far.
Habib, the only thing that matters is the following question. What do you think I'm going to ask you? I will let you answer the question before me asking the question.
Yeah, so no, I'm not selling the Taycan as of yet. I just went and test drove the new Macan yesterday, and may be adding that to the fleet. We'll see.
Oh my God. You know what? I'm going to come to Jersey and slash your tires. Uzi?
Well, I guess Habib just kind of answered my question. That I was thinking, with his experience comparing his driving to Omar's, what hardware does his Tesla have? I'm under the impression, obviously the Cybertruck is the newest car, so the hardware on it should be equal for everyone. So it should.
So I have hardware for, obviously, in the Cybertruck. My other vehicle is a Model S, which is a hardware 3 Model S. And that's where I've been doing a lot of FSD. Before then, I had, standard hardware 3 vehicles as well.
Habib, we have a question for you from YouTube live chat from Ken. You may remember Ken from our compensation discussions. He asks, how does Porsche's full self-driving compare to Tesla FSD?
Well, I highly respect Ken, and I appreciate the comment and the question. If I'm going to drive myself, the only vehicle I want to drive is the Porsche right now. If I'm going to use FSD, it's going to be the Cybertruck.
Have you driven the Cybertruck manually? It's pretty fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to drive for sure. But I'm just so excited. I'm really having a good experience with FSD, Omar, and I've not really had the best experience in the previous vehicles. So I'm just, I got it last night, so I'm just enjoying it.
Habib, we have another comment for you in YouTube live chat. YouTube live chat community seems to really like you. Steve says, I hope for the next SpaceX launch, Habib brings the Cybertruck and not the Taycan. Taycan, he says.
Yeah, I love my fans on the YouTube live. Thanks for all the questions. Great group of people. Yeah, and I put a little post out. Actually, I've been meaning to reach out to Omar and send it his way as well. We're trying to get a group of some people. We're going to try to drive down from Jersey to Boca Chica for the next SpaceX launch, and we invited. It started with Cybertrucks, but it's anyone who's got a Tesla you want to join. We can all caravan together and make the trip. I think it'll be a fun time. I told Steve he's coming. I think he's coming out of Florida. We told him to meet us. It'd be a lot of fun.
Very good. Maybe I'll tag along. All right, let's go to, I believe, Samir. Did you get a chance to talk?
Yeah, I did. Thanks, Yaman.
Okay. And I believe we had a pending question from Mai. Mai, go ahead. Mai, you may unmute yourself and go ahead.
Hey, Omar. So are we going back to the Israel discussion now?
Yeah, sure. What's your question?
No, I had a question. You were asking if anybody had any insights on what was going on and want to participate. So if you want me to expand on that, I can a little bit.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
So it's important for us to know that October 7th, it'll be the anniversary of the attacks that took place in Israel, right? So that can be symbolic to any sort of retaliations towards Israel or vice versa, for that matter. Additionally, the fact that Iran right now is under new leadership after President Raisi's death on that helicopter crash means that we have a lot of uncertainty from Iran. Like we don't know what's gonna happen or what decision they're gonna make because it's new leadership. This past week, Israel has 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 gotten rid of at least 7 key Hezbollah leaders, and in that last big bombing, there was a couple of Iranian Revolutionary Guards in there as well, and this has made Iran really upset to the point that we can have a lot of global uncertainty in the next week or two, at least until the
Okay.
October 7th.
Let me ask you, where are you located?
In the States.
Okay, and what's your experience with the topic?
I'd rather not say, but I follow a lot. If that's okay.
Okay. Okay. I mean, yeah, if you have any unique insight, you're welcome to it. But you're a first-time speaker. We do have Eli on the speaker board right now, who has all boots on the ground, and he's been reporting on the topic for months. So, thank you very much for your participation. Uzi, welcome back.
Yeah, I was going to like the YouTube video, and then I returned, and then
Thank you. We actually just went over 100 likes over there, so we're close to it. All right, we have a lot to talk about today. Eli, how are you doing over there?
Yeah, we good. It's everything calmed down, and it looks like the open air of Israel is now open, so we can get out, see what's going on. I will let you know if any development.
Okay, and you're with your wife, I'm assuming. You guys safe?
Yeah, we are safe. Thanks.
Okay, Jimmy.
Yeah, I just want to know why you're running Kamala Harris ads on your YouTube videos, and if you could remove them, that'd be great. Appreciated.
Are you serious? I have no control. I mean, I didn't know this. I was watching on TV from a friend of mine, with a friend of mine the other day. Just wanted to kind of see how the quality is on TV and stuff. And I did see a political ad. I don't think I have any control over that, do I?
No, you don't. They just buy a
Yeah.
bunch of different keywords.
Yeah, like Tesla. Anyway. Well, I'm looking forward to tonight's VP debate. I'm going to be watching closely. We haven't had a debate in a few weeks, so I don't know much about the two VPs. So maybe we can discuss that tomorrow. All right. We're going to have a Palantir discussion sometime later this week or next, probably. Uzi is introducing us to one of the employees. So maybe he'll be able to answer some questions that we may have and introduce and potentially discuss the commercial side of things, because the government side of the business is obviously secretive. So, Uzi?
Yeah, the government side's quite secretive. There's questions if they helped assassinate Osama bin Laden. I do want to point out that this whole Mars guy is also a Palantir investor.
Oh, is that right, Omar?
I think I have like a couple shares. It's not really that material of a position. Let me see. Yeah, like 10 shares.
Okay, Jimmy?
I was going to say, I do know Tim Walls. He knows who I am, and I've asked him multiple times to take FSD drives with me, and he has yet to accept.
Who's Tim Walz?
The governor of Minnesota, who is the VP.
Okay. Man, people throw out these names. I have no idea. The other day, some European speakers said Abba, and I'm like, who's Abba? And everyone went after me for like 3 days. Omar?
Yeah, I was just gonna say I kind of initiated a position in Palantir when they announced S&P 500 inclusion, and I'll probably close the position before they're included, a little bit before they're included. But we'll see. Maybe it could evolve into a longer term position.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, hopefully this discussion is helpful in making that decision. And we do have the CEO sold a bunch of shares, and um, yeah, so I'm looking forward to the discussion. All right, let's see. We have a number of topics we can go towards today, but let's see. Alexander, do you have anything?
Some European guy, really, Johan?
Yeah, I just couldn't remember who it was. I think it was not you. I just remember you kind of exclaiming when I said who's Abba. No, you're my favorite European guy. By the way, Tesla's doing really well in Sweden in Q3. Surge in deliveries in Sweden. But on the other hand, Alexander, there was some news that the strike against Tesla Sweden is expanding. Can you give us an update on that?
That's gonna do nothing, okay? EF Metal, this union, they are poor comparisons to Tesla. Like Tesla has so much cash. In fact, it's 1/3 of the whole budget of Sweden. So what are EF Metal gonna do? Nothing.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of surprising that Tesla was able to, have a record quarter in Sweden when this strike is going on. But from what I hear, the union that is servicing superchargers is now joining IFMetal, and also the surrounding countries' unions are also joining in terms of ports, so that Tesla can't deliver using other ports. Any comments on that? You're still not concerned about it at all?
They have been striking against supercharge service for over a year now, so I don't see any difference in that. And I think the record quarter you are referring to is actually Norway. They want 1/3 of all cars that was sold in September was Teslas in Norway. And
No, I think it's both.
Maybe I've seen
both countries.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of trucks with Tesla on it in Sweden the last month. I think it's going to be a record in Sweden too.
Yeah. Well, we have a number of people. I mean, maybe we can switch to Omar. Any comments about Tesla Sweden strikes?
No.
Okay, then let's talk some Q3 deliveries. It's going to come out tomorrow morning. It's supposed to be a really good quarter. Expectations have creeped up a little bit over the last few weeks. James Katz finally lowered his estimate from 475,000 minimum to 470,000. So that was a bit of a walk back. Troy is probably going to release his estimates publicly in the next few hours or so, and we're going to get to numbers in early tomorrow morning, pre-market. Omar, what are you going to be looking for?
Well, Tesla did send out the analyst consensus. So the Tesla, sorry, the Tesla compiled consensus is usually, a kind of a good indicator of where they end up, because they can kind of add or leave certain people into that compiled consensus to make it look more like a beat. So I think they said 462 was the analyst consensus. I think it's going to come in right around there, probably in the 460 range. Anything less than that's a little disappointing, but still a beat year over year because of the easy comp. Anything more than that is great. It's a beat. So 460 to 470,000 range, probably not more than 470,000. I think maybe James looked at the number again, realized maybe he's being a little optimistic for saying 475 plus. But I think at 460 to 470, it's a decent quarter. The bigger question is really, what margins did you have to get to achieve that?
Yeah, That's going to be the big question in the next few weeks here. All right, Finflexity, did you have anything on Tesla Sweden or other topics? Finflexity.
Yeah, I think I saw from Barclays, all of them posted their individual consensus yesterday. And for the big banks, at least, I saw that all of them were in the range of 455 to 468. So all of them are expecting in that range only.
Okay, good. And I believe Gene Munster came out with a 455,000 or something. Yeah, I mean, so the range is about 450 to 470. I do see outlier estimates in the reply sometimes, but the reasonable range seems to be about 450 to 470, and then we'll see where Tesla comes. Uzi?
Yeah, I think Dan Ives was in the 470, maybe 75 camp too, but he's a mega bull, and he's usually right.
Yeah, we'll see. There's a lot. I mean, a lot's happened in the last week of the quarter. We have very positive FSD updates, some positive news. Record-breaking stock prices. The markets seem to be accommodative for these type of purchases. But on the other hand, the rates are still low, and there was a hurricane, a major hurricane in Florida that killed more than 10 people. And the last thing that's going to be on your mind during that time, obviously, is to buy a new car. So lots of moving pieces. But in the longer term, these things kind of wash out, and no pun intended. And I think FSD take rate is increasing. So I think these are very positive developments. Alexander?
Yeah, I also think like 470 range. I said this before, but I also think Tesla will report in the shareholder letter that they saw an increased demand in Europe in the end of Q3. And I think they will actually guide for a stronger demand for Q4.
That would be amazing because there's some concerns about Q4. Uzi?
Yeah, I think the result of the storm obviously is not good in the short term, but it might build more goodwill towards Tesla because of the Starlink connection. It seems like there's a community movement to get Wi-Fi to people there. And you've seen some examples of Cybertrucks being used for charging, but I don't know if will be material. It's just clearly you can make an argument that there'll be more goodwill.
Yeah, I don't think this company gets enough credit, and Elon doesn't get enough credit for everything he does. I mean, this morning on Bloomberg Television, they were talking about how he's sending Starlink to the affected areas, and he didn't even mention his name. They didn't. They just said Starlink. But yeah, Omar, can you say a few words on that?
Yeah, I mean, these disasters just highlight again how life-changing Starlink can be. And this is just one side project of one of his businesses. This can keep you employed. This can change careers. This can be the difference between being able to get help if there's an issue and not having connectivity. It can literally be the difference between life and death. So it's been good to see SpaceX and also just people in the community buying up Starlinks and getting them to the people who need them. I think I saw something on X about the Y'all Squad buying a bunch of Starlinks. I don't know who the Y'all Squad is, but they have now connected more American homes to broadband than the FCC has with their rural broadband program. So it really is just an incredible technology, and it's gearing up to be incredibly impactful. The new direct to cell service that's going live, that's going to allow Starlink to connect directly to an ordinary cell phone. I mean, that is another big leap forward for the service.
Yeah, and as we know, Starlink also played a role in Gaza, played a role in Ukraine, and power walls were sent to Puerto Rico, I believe, back in 2017. And I mean, just so many examples of service, community service here, and these are critical help, like something that nobody else can do. Like if it's not for this company, SpaceX or Tesla, these things would not happen. Like it's not a matter of this person is doing it and otherwise the government would pick up the tab or something like that. It's just that it wouldn't even be possible. Jonathan.
Hey, thank you for letting me come up to speak. I just wanted to speak to what Omar was talking about because he doesn't know Ryan Hall, y'all, and the Y'all Squad. I've been following Ryan Hall. He started off as a small time YouTube meteorologist channel, and the Y'all Squad is absolutely amazing. They do, in my opinion, they do more good for um, victims that are impacted by natural disasters. All of the funds that they get from like their merch and stuff, a portion of every single thing that you buy from their stores goes to literally they have these first responders that they send out Starlinks, bottled water. Um, if anyone ever wants to help whenever there's a natural disaster that happens, I personally have given a significant amount of money to that group because I know that money, in my opinion, is better spent than even going to like the Red Cross or something. I'm getting a better return on my investment as far as actual victims. That was all that I wanted to say. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you for joining. Yeah, that's very interesting. And how are they funded, Jonathan?
100% by viewers that watch his weekly meteorologist reports, YouTube monetization, and then people like myself that, I bought like a stupid, snow measuring stick from his website, and Ryan Hall, Y'all Hall t-shirt, they a portion of all of their sales, they set a portion of those sales aside to go into funds. Also, anytime there's like a major event like this last hurricane, Ryan Hall goes live, and it is insane what people give while he's doing live streams. I mean, he's been live 24 hours plus, saying take shelter here. Anytime there's a tornadic event in the Midwest, these large outbreaks, he goes live and he stays live until the threat it has passed. And I mean, I've seen his channel rake in over $100,000 in donations in one streaming just for to go to the victims that to help with search, recovery, cleanup efforts. It's really quite astonishing considering this no one knew who he was. I mean, I think I joined his YouTube channel when he had like maybe 300 followers on YouTube, and you can look at him today and it's quite significantly large, but um it's all funded by just people who appreciate what he does. And I I see all of the people saying SpaceX or Starlink, send this, we need help. And it gets a little bit annoying from my perspective, whenever I'm sitting here watching this, because in my opinion, the best return on the I always look at everything as a return on the investment. No, get Starlink in, into people like the Y'all Squad that actually get it where it needs to go. They know exactly where stuff needs to go, and they're such a small and nimble operation. They're much quicker than FEMA. They had Starlinks on it just for the North Carolina situation. They literally had the first two Starlinks
Okay.
in Asheville.
Very good. Thank you very much, Jonathan. Complexity?
Yeah, so a sidestep, but we just had the Treasury release some data regarding, the EV tax credit that they have been paying out since January 1st. So the data says that approximately 250,000 cars have been sold in the US that qualified for the 7,500 tax credit for EVs. And then another 50,000 have qualified for the used car sale for the tax rebate of 4,000, I think. Other than that, there was some more data. And they released their survey on the economic policy of owning electric vehicles. So, on an average, they have come up with a figure that if you assume a car owning period of 15 years, you will end up with savings of 21,000. So this is from the actual government as well.
Okay, thank you for Inflexity. Hey, Alexander, I got a question for you. Are you there?
Yes.
Were you able to watch Herbert's interview of the Figure AI CEO?
I listened to it 2
You
days ago.
listened to it?
Yes.
Okay, good. And we talked about it briefly in AI Amateurs last night, which was a great space and broke some records. What were your thoughts? You know, you follow the company, you follow Tesla Optimus project, you're experienced in automation and robotics. What were your thoughts from that interview?
As soon as I hear Brett's voice, I get mad because he blocked me on X. But then I thought to myself, like, maybe he will be able to compete with Tesla because, I mean, I've said this before, but I don't think production of the units will be that hard. It will actually be the brain. So yeah.
Yeah, in the longer term, he said it's going to be a software problem. And this is exactly what Omar says in the space as well. And we agree. But in the shorter term, the challenge seems to be around creating the hardware that they can scale. So they don't seem to have the manufacturing piece figured out yet. Was that your take as well?
Yeah, but then again, you don't really have to think about manufacturing before you get the brain right. You can't do the investments in the manufacturing equipment and so on. So that's what I think about that.
Okay, I have more questions for you in a second, but before that, quick word to our sponsors. And in the meantime, as I read the audio ads, please, if you're in the X space, take a moment to go up to the top of your screens and like the YouTube video. It really helps push it out to new viewers and expand our community. Tesla Live is proudly sponsored by Joa, your go-to source for premium Tesla accessories. And because you're part of the community, Joa is hooking you up. Use code TSLA Live for a special discount and pay more. Pay more buys, sells, trades, and recycles electronics. And because Paymore believes the best technology doesn't have to come at the cost of our planet or your wallet. Join the Paymore revolution at paymore.com. Alexander.
Yes.
How certain are you that Tesla Optimus will get to 1 million humanoids per year before Figure AI or somebody else will? From a probability perspective, how certain are you?
I'm not that certain of that. As I said, like production of the units will not be that hard. And when I listened to the AI amateur space yesterday or today, I guess, you talked about what the cost of a factory would be, and I think 1 billion is way too much. Like I think it's around like 100 million.
Yeah, I think it's going to be. I mean, when you consider the fact that you have to build out the supply chain as well, and Brad talked about how they want to be vertically integrated, which is also going to be obviously Tesla's ambitions too. I think it's going to be around 1 billion, but I don't think it's going to be in the $5 to $10 billion that some people speculated in AI amateurs last night. We have one of those people on the board right now, and if he wants to defend his position against Alexander's $100 million range, maybe Finflexity can hop in and share his thoughts.
On the factory price?
Yeah, the factory to take humanoids to volume production, I believe you were estimating around 5 to 10 billion. Alexander says 100 million. So that's 2 orders of magnitude difference.
Yeah, so I actually didn't have much time to look at this topic after that, but based on the preliminary research I did for existing factories that have been made for producing humanoids, by the looks of it, right now in China, a company has invested into Turkey. Their news department is claiming that they have invested $10 billion into a humanoid AI factory, and I think that production capacity is approximately 150,000, or I don't know, I haven't checked their production capacity yet,
but they are the only ones that have claimed to invest such a large amount into a humanoid factory. Other than that, the Beijing government has been given out approximately 1.6 billion in subsidies to local humanoid players for basically pilot production, and I think that has been spread over approximately 40 to 50 players. So that would come around 32 million per player for pilot production in China.
Alexander, Filmflex says a Chinese company has invested large amounts, $10 billion, they said, in Turkey to build humanoid. I've never heard of this company or the investment. Filmflex, do you have any specifics, like which Chinese company?
It is something called Anikton. I don't know. I think it's ANIK and something after that. I'm actually trying to verify it, but I've only seen a news post from the South China Morning Post. They're usually very reliable in their reporting on China, and I mean the company has claimed the same thing. But I'll try to look up more about it, and then we can talk about it.
Why don't you send that article to me in DMs to my other accounts, and let me take a look at it so we can dig into it. Let me get the specifics of this, do some digging. Alexander?
Yeah, you have to understand, like a humanoid robot is only like 1/30th of the materials of like a Model 3. So you don't need that big of a factory to produce like a million units. The machines that you need for producing the body is not that many to produce like a million arms or like 2 million arms, 2 million legs. Obviously, they're not going to have the semi ships and stuff produced in the US. I don't think so. Maybe that's the case for China, and that's why it's much more expensive.
Yeah, interesting. That's an interesting perspective. That makes sense, actually. If China has to produce the chips that Tesla can acquire from other companies in the US, maybe that's why. Filmflex, go ahead.
Yeah, my price tag on Figure was actually given that we were assuming vertical integration for the motors and everything together. If they outsource the part of the motors and only do assembly, then it will be much cheaper.
Yeah, we're assuming vertical integration, potentially not the batteries, because batteries are in abundance these days. And I don't know if humanoids will need special batteries or not, but the actuators, of course. Alexander, does that change your view if Tesla will also manufacture its own actuators? Would you like to adjust your estimate from 100 million?
No, but yet those units are small, right? You don't need big, expensive machines to make those.
Okay, Finflexity, Alexander says those are easy to produce, cheaper, easy to produce. They're small. You don't need multi-billion-dollar investment. What do you say to that?
The numbers that I was giving yesterday, all of them were based on that you would actually produce the actuators, the sensors, and the accompanying motors as well.
Come on, the sensors are just cameras. Tesla already has these in volume. Actuators, I understand, but Alexander makes a good point that they're not going to be very expensive. They're not going to need big machinery. This is a good debate. I would like people watching this on YouTube to share their thoughts, what they believe. Who do you think is right, Finflexity or Alexander? Do you think Tesla and other players in this space will need billions of dollars, up to $10 billion of capital expenditure investment into these big factories? Or do you think they're going to be able to do it for less than $1 billion, like Alexander says? So this is a wide gap. This is 2 orders of magnitude. So somebody's very wrong. And I can say I'm right in the middle. So interesting. Alexander?
Yeah, also with those investments, you have to think about what the money is going to. So obviously, training the model that is going to run on the robot is more expensive than actually producing a couple of robots.
Of course. Okay, I'm going to be waiting for responses in YouTube live chat. If you're listening to the recording, you may leave a comment below the video or a comment in a reply to the space as well. Inflexity?
Yeah, but a company like Figure wouldn't have capital expenditure on the software part because their models are they're currently using the model from OpenAI, and I think they're just fine tuning it for their purpose. So that would mean that they wouldn't have capex, while Tesla would have capex for that department.
Yeah, we're excluding data center capex. We're excluding data center capex because Figure AI is going to be using Microsoft's GPUs, and Tesla is already building GPU capacity data centers for FSD build out. So this is not, I mean, incrementally, I think both companies will need it, but let's exclude that. We're just talking factory. We're just talking factory capital expenditures. Alexander?
Yeah, and also assembly. Because the robot is like the parts for robots are small, you can actually use the robots that you produce to assemble the robots.
Team Flexity.
Yeah, the only problem with that is that for the first million unit production, you wouldn't have the capability for a self-reproducing robot. That would require much more training on the robotics part. So most of the companies that are currently looking for pilot production, they are assuming that their maybe first 1 million or 5 million units that they will produce will be without the reliance of a humanoid building another humanoid robot.
I agree, and Brad Adcock said that as well, and Omar has said this in this space. Man, Omar and Brad Adcock agree a lot, actually. So maybe they're the right, same people. Steve says in YouTube live chat, no real contest, but I guess closer to 1 to 2 billion versus 100 to 200 million dollars. So Steve says Yaman is right, Alexander is wrong. In not those words, but basically, essentially, that's what he said. All right, Dallas, do you have a thought?
Not really well versed on this topic, so I'm gonna sit out here if that's okay.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, Dallas, you're definitely one of the most improved over the last several months. One of the newer additions. Dallas is always tagging me on material news that I haven't seen before, and contributing greatly to the space here, sharing the space, sharing the YouTube videos. So much appreciated. All right, let's see what else we got here. What else we got? Oh, Alexander, before we wrap this topic up, one more question for you. Do you, as a Tesla investor, are you worried more about Figure AI's competition versus Optimus, or Waymo's competition versus Tesla robotaxis?
Waymo, I'm not worried about. I mean, that Tesla has that scale. I'm more worried about like the brain of the Optimus.
Okay, so you're not convinced yet that Tesla can build out a brain for Optimus that is that would make millions of robots useful. That would create demand for millions of humanoids. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think like the risk is that someone else can actually invent it before Tesla. That's a risk.
Yeah, I think that's a fair concern, especially with the fact that Figure AI is partnered with OpenAI, who has the leading chatbot models. But on the other hand, Tesla has access to real world hardware they'll be able to build, I think, a real world model better than OpenAI can. A humanoid that has to interact with the physical world. I think Tesla may have a special, unique competitive advantage there. Uzi.
I'm much more afraid of Waymo. First, Brett hasn't mass produced anything. Neither has Waymo, but Waymo has a working, not prototype, but working vehicle. And they have a partnership with Uber now. I think their distribution strategy is questionable because they can't vertically integrate with LiDAR the way that Tesla can. But at least they have regulatory infrastructure built out. They're in Phoenix, they're in California, or San Francisco. So they can. At this point, they are the only market player. Whereas Figure AI, they have partnerships, but they don't have anything that works. To be brute about it, I do think Figure can be successful if the partnership with NVIDIA goes well. But ChatGPT is not, it's its personality, it's not vision. So I think NVIDIA will work on the vision part and the perception. And if they, the partnership works well, then I'd be more concerned about Figure, but for now, I'm not.
Uzi, I think part of the reason why you're underestimating ChatGPT is because you don't use it. You say to me that you use Grok almost exclusively. But if you were using ChatGPT like we discussed in the AI amateurs and submitting pictures to it like I do, you would be impressed how quickly it recognizes the things, so many different things going on in one picture. Uzi?
I don't think ChatGPT has depth perception or the ability to, maybe at one point, maybe reasoning and planning, but I guess there's a difference between the vision part where they're training with teleoperation, and then I guess the ChatGPT part, or Grok part, where you have a personality hooked up to the bot that can interact with the user. So I think they're distinct things.
Alexander?
Yeah, I have to push back there. I think Waymo doesn't have the cheapest sensors. They don't have the vertical integration, and they don't have the scale of Tesla. So I think that race is, it's not going to be hard for Tesla. But if Tesla takes 4 more years to get unsupervised FSD, well, yeah, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah, I totally agree. This is really amazing. We have an excellent discussion going on right now. We have very knowledgeable, experienced, deep thinking speakers on the board. And interestingly, people are disagreeing with each other on various points. So while Alexander agrees with one speaker on one point, he may disagree on another point with the same speaker, which goes to show there's nothing personal going on here. It's all about the specific points and the facts and the specific parts of the argument, which I think just goes to show the excellent quality of the discussion. Finflexity and then Uzi.
Yeah, and another thing that people aren't necessarily more caught up on is the fact that whilst Nvidia is a big player in this industry, the omniverse industry as they like to call it, their software for simulating real conditions in the real world for a humanoid robot are apparently on not as high as I once thought they were. So I basically was reading up on a new startup that is coming out in this field. It's called vSim. They actually raised money last week, and they are essentially pitching themselves as a replacement to the NVIDIA training simulation software for robots. So essentially, what their argument right now is that whilst the omniverse model can replicate a lot of the physical world conditions, the simulation that you would require to train something virtually that could stand up in the real world isn't there with the NVIDIA software yet. So, there is a limitation on the software end of it as well for training a robot model virtually.
Thank you. Uzi.
Yeah, and I guess on top of the Omniverse, there's this problem with training LLMs with synthetic data. It's just made up human-made data. So I don't know how that's playing out in reality with NVIDIA, but obviously they understand compute. Let me say for Waymo though, let me say I believe Tesla is ahead in both Optimus and Robotaxi by far. I don't want to sound like a bear. I'm just saying if you have Uber and you get a Waymo, you're going to use it, right? Whereas at this point, there's no Robotaxi network. Waymo is the closest to a competitor. Even though they might not fundamentally scale, they have partnerships and they have Google's Nest Egg. So they're much more of a competitor, in my opinion.
Uzi, I don't think anyone in the world will ever mistake you for a Tesla bear. You are all in on Elon. You use Grok versus ChatGPT. You think Tesla Optimus is ahead of Figure AI. You believe FSD is ahead of Waymo. And you assign 100% probabilities to all of these things happening. Not a single person on Earth will ever mistake you for a bear. and I appreciate you having been on the board. If you want to dig into Uzi's thoughts and forecasts for specific products and services, you can go to the YouTube channel and watch Tesla Forecasts Episode 3. And we also talk about his background a little bit too. So if you want to get to know Uzi, watch Tesla Forecasts Episode 3 on, you can reach it through the link at the top of our screens. Alexander.
Yeah, I hate to disagree with Uzi, but I need to. So we don't know too much about Optimus right now because we haven't had an update or heard anything for a long while.
We're like 9 days away from here. That's why we haven't heard about it. I'm sure it's going to come up in 1010. I mean, if it didn't come up in 1010, I'd be so disappointed. Not that this is not I mean, even the invite is like robots, I think Optimus is going to play a major role, on 1010.
Hopefully.
Come on. I'm willing to do a coffee bet on this.
I'm not saying they won't, but I'm just saying hopefully.
Okay. Let me know your thoughts in YouTube live chat. Real Zertex says 1010 plus 1. He believes also. I think that's code for he believes he agrees with me. Inflexity.
I'm not caught up on this, but what do you guys expect that Optimus will have to do on basically 1010?
I think they're going to show the next version, and maybe some cool demos. But Northern Neil just jumped up. So Nathan, go ahead.
Hey, I was very fortunate to get an invitation to the 1010 event after not getting into previous events. And I was wondering, does anybody know what time it's actually held, or is that still to be determined? So I did the RSVP, and they said they'll get back to me later with more details, and I haven't heard anything. I'm trying to get airline tickets and lodging, and the earlier you do that, the less money you spend typically. So does anybody know when it is on the 10th? What time?
Yeah, if anyone knows, please request to speak. But honestly, Nathan, I think Tesla does this on purpose. They leave it to the last minute because they want only those who will drop everything in their life at the last moment. Doesn't matter if you have a job or a baby, just drop it and hop on the first flight, paying 5 times more than you can otherwise. All part of the plan. James is coming up. Maybe he knows the answer here. Let's see. James?
Yeah, a friend of mine, he got a ticket and he said it starts at doors open at 5, but they don't start letting people in till like 5:30, and then the actual presentation starts at 7.
So if you go ahead.
Well, I was just wondering how long it goes, because I might be able to take a flight back that night instead of getting lodging again, but I might be asking too much.
Yeah, the email doesn't say anything about how long it's going to take.
And you have to account for Elon time too. So that means the event will probably start at 8 o'clock. No, I'm kidding. James, can you repeat the start time again?
It said doors open at 5, but they don't start letting people in until 5:30, and then the presentation starts at 7.
So what are they going to do between 5 and 5:30? What do you mean? So the doors are open but not open?
I don't know. That's just what it said in the email.
Okay.
Maybe there's something to see. I mean, it's the Warner Brothers lot. There's a lot there, and I've been there, and it's a big place.
I'm not jealous at all. Nathan, where are you going from?
I'm going to fly from Portland, Oregon airport. I live in Washington State, which is I'm like 10 miles from the border. So people in my area go into Portland, Oregon to use the airport there.
Okay, cool. Jimmy?
I hear that they're going to unveil 2 vehicles, but I'm not sure. Has anyone else heard that?
Well, there's a comment in YouTube live chat from Brenton, who says, I'd like to know, when do you think we'll see the Roadster 2.0 unveiled? Do you think it will be one more thing on 1010? Will it even be this year? I mean, that would be pretty amazing. You know, I still remember the Roadster unveiled, the first one with the semi. That was a hell of an event. Man, that was crazy times. Maybe it'll show up in 1010, who knows? James and Alexander.
This is purely speculation on my part, but I would, I don't think they would want to distract too much from the Robotaxi and unveil the Roadster 2. But my my guess would be that if they're working on, if they built a whole new platform for this Robotaxi that they're about to unveil, it would make sense that they've, also have probably, like, Musk usually thinks ahead, right? And it's always like we need an ability to pivot it if we need to. And one of the things that they should be prepared for is, are the robotaxis going to be, ready for approval and actually going out on roads? And if not, then you probably need a version that's going to have a steering wheel and pedals, right? So uh, maybe there's going to be, this is a robotaxi, but also unveil this has steering by wire, so we're able to manufacture them with steering wheels and pedals, or really easily, have no steering wheel or pedal, or it folds away and comes out when needed to be driven manually. So it's sort of a stopgap solution instead of just building one that has no steering wheel and can never be driven manually. So I think either there'll be two separate variations, or it's like a robotaxi and then a steering wheel, or it's just going to be one version that can fold away when needed. So I think that will be like also marketable as, oh, this is the $25,000 vehicle, because it's using the unboxed system to build it much cheaper and quicker, so we can sell it for less. Maybe even Optimus is doing some stuff in the factory now, because it's the production of the unboxed system is so much more modular now that that also reduces the cost of this vehicle.
All right.
So I think maybe the surprise will be a 25K vehicle.
Okay. There was a lot there. I wish I could use a chatbot in real time to say summarize. Summarize what was just said.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. Who wants to summarize it? Let's pick on Inflexity.
No, I'm not going to summarize that, but
Okay, hold
you
on.
actually
No,
said
you can't. What kind of chatbot are you? I'm not gonna. No, I cannot do that. What's that saying from that movie back in the day? Was it like 70s or 80s?
I'm sorry, Dave, but I can't do that.
Exactly. Finflex just said that. I'm scared now. Steve in YouTube live chat says 30-minute warning. 30-minute warning. We need another big push for likes to get to record ASAP. Hit the like button. So we're gonna take a 30-second break for everyone in the X space to go up to the link at the top, click that YouTube like button, and hit the like on the YouTube. This is very important to grow the channel. Ad revenue from YouTube helps keep X space free and open for everybody. Let's see if we can get to a record. In those 30 seconds, I'm going to read the audio ads for our sponsors. TSLA Live is proudly sponsored by Joa, your go-to source for premium Tesla accessories. Joa has wireless controllers where you can play games and you can charge them wirelessly in your Tesla. So you can buy those. You can see a picture at the top of our screens, and using the link, you can go to use the Tesla Live to get your discount as well. And pay more. Buy, sells, trades, and recycles electronics. And you can join the payment revolution. They prefer that you go to a store, but if not, to check them out first, you can go to paymore.com. They have more than 100 stores, and they're also expanding globally as well. We just jumped from 125 likes to 140 likes. So thank you very much, everybody. For those of you, 143 and counting. I think this break idea was by Uzi. Uzi, was this your idea to take a break because people don't want to miss the discussion?
Yes, and there's an ad too.
Yeah, exactly. Great idea. Man, I really like that all of our speakers are working together, coming up with these ideas. I really appreciate people who are sharing it. Jennifer, for example, shares it very often. And there's about a dozen or 2 dozen people who share almost daily the X Space, the YouTube channel. And it's just, it's going to happen like this. It's going to happen with a community effort. So thank you very much, everybody. Alexander.
Yaman, are you able to get to the event if you get an invite?
I'm really focused on growing Tesla Live. I'm just really focused on growing Tesla Live. You know, like I spend a lot of hours, and I need to focus on that right now. But I'm going to be watching, and we're probably going to have a space. We're probably going to have something on YouTube during the event. I've been to a Tesla event before. I was at the Cybertruck deliveries event, and that was very, very good. But I need to focus on this. So. All right, Dallas.
Yeah, briefly, can we touch on the 12541 release from today?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll be doing a side-by-side comparison review of the features that they improved on Smart Summon for this release whenever I get it. I haven't gotten it yet, but noticing some great noted changes that are things that I've noticed myself recently. So hoping those are addressed.
Can you say that last part again?
Yeah, there's some good noted changes that they've made in the release notes, which I'm glad to see they're actually doing release notes now. For the Smart Summon feature, they seem to have fixed a bunch of the issues that people have been having. So I'll be doing a side-by-side test on that.
Yeah, tell us more in detail.
Yeah, so it looks like they've addressed some things, notably the camera block warning that a lot of people have been getting. It says something about to the effect of obstructed camera view, so then the summon would just quit, right? That happened to me multiple times. Something about public high-speed road aborts, so it feels that it's too close to an operating roadway, even though it's not. So it's like in a parking lot and thinks it's on a road, so that it would just stop in the middle of the summon. Reduced false positive collision mitigation aborts. So that's like those abrupt breakings when it would come near a curb. And then they've also refined dumb summon, which is the one where it just moves forward and backwards like a remote control car. A lot of people have been having issues with that, myself included, where your car's in the garage. It's actually kind of a useful feature. You just pull it out in a tight garage, but it feels too tight for the car, so it won't even try it. So apparently they fixed that in this update as well.
Good. We're going to be looking for your side-by-side comparison, Dallas, and you can share that in Tesla Live as well. This is great. Very good. All right. Let's see what else we got here. Just a couple of macro news to the extent that people are interested on this. BlackRock CEO Larry Fink gave an interview on Bloomberg. BlackRock is obviously the biggest asset manager, global asset manager in the world, with I believe more than $10 trillion of assets now, and said markets expecting too many rate cuts. He does not see another 200 basis points of cuts given the high GDP growth. He believes that there will be no landing, 2 to 3% continued growth, and points to the budget deficit. So because of the government spending, excessive, he didn't use the word excessive, but he said high government spending, he does not see rates coming down as much as people expect. On the other side of that debate, Neil Dutta expects 100 basis points of cuts before year end. So he expects 50 and 50 basis point cuts. So those are two very knowledgeable, very much plugged in experts on macroeconomics that I follow together. And they have the opposite ends of the spectrum in terms of what they expect. Very interesting stuff. Neil Dutta also expects unemployment rate to continue rising from here and to inflation to continue to slow. He points out that the 3-month trend in private employment gains is already running below 100,000 per month. We're going to get the updated report on Friday. This week is the employment week. This morning, we got the job openings data, which showed an increase from last month. Tomorrow, we're going to get the ADP number. And we're going to get on Thursday initial weekly claims for unemployment benefits, which people are very much following closely. And Friday, I'm going to be looking for job gains. I'm going to be looking for wage growth. And, I share these insights under the account macro analyst as well as with my patrons as well. I'm working on a macro weekly update that's going to go out today. Edmunds says auto sales contracted in Q3, both on a year-over-year basis and quarter-over-quarter basis. I'm highlighting this because Tesla is growing sales while the industry is shrinking. That contrast, I believe, is going to be very material going forward. So this is something to keep in mind. Edmunds says auto sales are contracted in Q3, both on a year-over-year basis and quarter-over-quarter basis. Tesla is going to announce numbers tomorrow morning. And we have Roland Percher in the audience. If he wants to come up and kind of give us a global deliveries overview, I would appreciate that, Roland. I sent you an invite. In other news, police is using Tesla cameras to solve investigations. I thought that was a really interesting headline from Autoline. Police is using Tesla cameras to solve investigations in an increasing manner. So Tesla's playing a role here in improving safety for everybody in many, many ways. Very good. Okay, good. Let's see what else we got here. Yeah, we talked about the hurricane. Apple cut iPhone 16 production orders that hit the stock today. This happens every now and then. Boeing is looking to raise $10 billion. Boeing is looking to raise $10 billion in stock sales. I thought that was interesting. If anybody follows closely Boeing, you may request to speak or raise your hand to have a comment on that. We talked about the eastern ports closing for the first time since 1977. Eastern ports closing for the first time since 1977. Sometimes people think that, western ports are open, so you shouldn't have that much of an impact. But I think the margin of error here is very slim. Global supply chains are very efficient. Western ports are already working full time, so they may not be able to handle any excess work. And sometimes the two coasts, labor unions and two coasts, help each other out, as we're also seeing in Sweden right now. Inflexity.
Yeah, we actually had a statement from the White House coming in support for the striking workers on the Eastern Coast as well.
Yeah, Biden said that he's not going to use his power to put an end to a strike that's threatening the U.S. economy. I think this might just be a political talking point. I think if this goes on for a couple of weeks, you may see the rhetoric change very rapidly. So this can turn into a political issue in the coming weeks. A couple of days of strikes is not going to change much. But if it goes on for 2 weeks, it can have devastating effects on the US economy. If it goes on for more than a month or two, it will hurt the global economy because these are global supply chains. So for example, if a ship is coming to the East Coast and it's having to wait there instead of unloading its load and going to Europe, for example, for another shipment, you can see how this can cascade into a global effect. Complexity.
Yeah, actually, one more thing for this particular part is that since I saw an analysis from some sell side bank, I don't know, I don't think it was one of the bigger ones. But anyways, the analysis was basically that after 1 week, the effects will start to get more devastating as basically it will sort of compound over as you have more backlogs incoming. So it will take more time to unwind when the issue fixes itself. And another big part is that this is happening on the side East Coast, and East Coast supply chains were already, very fragile because of the Yemen Yemen attacks on the ships in that area as well. So, all of this is happening on one side of the world while the West Coast is rather insulated from it all right now.
Very good. Thank you very much, Simplicity. Man, I'm so happy you have a better mic now. Just so happy. And thank you very much for joining last night's AI Amateurs. That was a really informative space. I highly recommend people listen to it. The feedback for it is incredible. I mean, 100% like rate, record likes. I posted something on my Instagram as well for people because it is for amateurs, AI amateurs. So I see in my daily life people aren't using AI even 1% of the potential. So there's a huge gap. And Finflexit was instrumental in last night's space. Very good. I see Machine in the crowd. If he wants to come up and maybe give a couple of comments. Machine was ahead of the curve on the potential ports closures on the East Coast. So maybe he may have some insight into it. Or if he wants to talk about 1010 or inflation numbers. This week is the employment numbers. Next week is the inflation numbers. And then we're going to get a better picture of whether we're going to get a 25 or a 50 basis point cut. Alexander.
Yeah, Machine, you need to come up. I'm finding myself being the bear here when you are not around.
I mean, we had a really diverse discussion on Figure AI versus Optimus and Waymo versus FSD. We had all combinations and permutations of takes on the topic. So that's a really fertile ground for debates. And of course, Machine will come up at some point and he'll say, all of you are wrong. I know it best. Inflexity.
Yeah, actually, we had one more thing coming out of Israel just 5 minutes ago. The Israeli military just said that the Air Force will be conducting powerful strikes tonight throughout the Middle East. So, the Air Force, I think it was a military excursion on the ground till now. It will be the Air Force for the night now.
Yes, I saw that too. And the geopolitical risk in the Middle East is certainly rising. And one thing about geopolitical risk is that it can like the geopolitical risk in different parts of the world can kind of depend on each other a little bit. So they're not independent of each other. So, we're starting to hear comments from Russia about what's going on in the Middle East, and Russia versus Ukraine is also going strong, and people are dying. So, in my opinion, the world is accelerating towards potential World War III. So this is not good. And up to this point, the oil market was ignoring what's happening in the Middle East. But today, we saw oil prices jump back above $70 per barrel. So the oil market also now is not ignoring the topic. And if you're interested in this topic earlier, we had Ellie reporting from a shelter in Israel. Dallas, go ahead.
Yeah, meanwhile, our leader is in Martha's Vineyard.
Okay, we have Machine on the board. Machine, welcome.
I told you a week ago to watch out for the labor strike, port strike, and Middle East tensions. And what happened today? I told you all, just listen to me.
Yes, listen to Machine and like the YouTube video, because he says if you like the YouTube video, he's going to be happy. And that just has never happened in his life before. The guy has never been happy in his life. So if you want to make Machine happy, please like the YouTube video and use the Joa link to order your premium accessories to elevate your Tesla experience. Joa is in the audience. Thank you very much, Joa, for your sponsorship. And also go to paymore.com. Explore Paymore website and consider selling your old electronics to Paymore to get paid more for them. All right, we have 10 minutes left. Machine, of course, fashionable late like a princess. Machine, do you have any updates on what's your updated take on the port's closure? Do you think this will impact Tesla?
Well, I watched the interview video with the leader of the strike, and he seems quite hard set on having the strike and inflicting pain. That's my take from that. So I would expect it to continue unless their demands are met, or at least partially. In terms of Tesla, I'm not aware of what their supply chain looks like for cars made in the US. I know some percentages made of parts are made outside of Canada and Mexico, I suppose. But I don't know how quickly they could pivot or exactly what percent components that is. So there's a possibility. Obviously, it slows down production of cars here. And I don't know in terms of exporting where maybe South Korea, like where else do they export cars from now? From Fremont, I'm just not sure. So that's not my area of expertise. But there could be. I would guess there'd be like a 5% reduction in production or deliveries, maybe from cars made in the U.S.
Yeah. Okay. Finflexity.
All right, I'll just give a basic recap of, most of the information that we have for the Tesla supply chain. So for Giga Austin, I think they are still using the ports at the Gulf of Mexico, but that's not a big deal really, because a lot of the traffic in the Gulf was already rerouted to the West Coast after the problems in the Panama Canal over the last year. And since Tesla is already an existing customer on Californian ports, they would be preferred to give more port spots to their equipment. And for the export part, Giga Austin exports a certain amount of cars every quarter using the Baltimore port or a port in Georgia. So both of them will be affected. And I think those cars are going to some European country. I'm not sure which, but they are not serviced by Giga Berlin, and they are the only export for the East Coast right now.
Okay. I mean, there's going to be some impact. Like, this is inevitable. If the strike goes on for more than a couple of weeks, there will be an impact on Tesla's sales supply chain. But Tesla, I don't know this for a fact, but my understanding is that Tesla's most of the production in each factory is delivered in that region. This may not be true for, let's say, some of these European automakers that are importing a lot of cars into the US. So they would be hurt more than Tesla. But of course, as Machine will point out, Tesla will also be hurt. And so obviously we wish that these things didn't happen. Let's go to Lumi, Alexander, and I have a question for Machine.
Yeah, my question is, do you think it's even possible for the pay rise to be agreed by the corporations? Do you think this is just like a stalemate from the beginning?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the government has to step in after a week or so. Alexander?
Yeah, the export to Europe should be X and S, so I don't think that should impact so much.
Okay. Machine, were you able to watch Herbert's interview of Brett Adcock?
Nope.
Excellent. I know you don't like to do any work, but are you more worried about competition from Figure AI versus Optimus to Optimus, or competition from Waymo to Tesla FSD robotaxis?
That's a good question.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That was incredible. In 2 years, you've never said anything positive about my moderation. So this means this episode is amazing. So take a moment to hit the like button on YouTube. We're up to 160. We're not going to get to a record that looks like today. But if a miracle happens, we'll keep this space going for more than 5 minutes. Machine?
There's as much miracle in you getting to 200 likes as there is Iran coming out of this war unscathed. You are the Ayatollah of this space, and that's not a good thing.
Okay. So we're going to take a minute break for everyone in the YouTube on X space to go up through the link at the top of our screens. You can like that tweet as well, but what I really need you to do is click that link, go to the YouTube channel, and like the YouTube video. We are at 160. So let's take a minute break for people to do that while Machine munches on his chicken. Actually, it doesn't sound like he's eating today.
Your question, I would say fundamentally, Waymo obviously being ahead is a significant advantage for them. We've obviously talked about their abilities to scale. On one hand, putting them at a not good position versus Tesla. However, with Optimus, we talk about all of Tesla's benefits of scaling volume production, of making the humanoid robots. From a software perspective, I feel like their lead versus Figure AI or some other startup is less. While they do have the vision stack that they can translate over from FSD, I think other companies can recreate a suitable vision stack or whatever other control algorithms they need to make and training for their bots more quickly than the FSD stack can be recreated for another car company, for instance. So, Tesla doesn't have a data advantage with the Optimus. So it's from a software standpoint, I don't see their advantage being very large. It's probably the benefit of high scale manufacturing, which will only show up as a benefit years down the line when they're at volume scale production. In the meantime, there's no reason really a competitor couldn't come out and have better software architecture and come up with more impressive demos or even more impressive bots that can actually do some tasks. So it's a tough question, honestly. I can't give a clear answer.
Yeah, I noticed that you can't give a clear answer on this. You kind of like mumbled and thought out loud and didn't get to an answer. That's okay. Yeah, we're going to explore. I mean, we have a lot of different views on this, as we discussed in today's space here in Tesla Live and also last night's space in the AI Amateurs. We have a lot of different varying points on this. So we're going to explore this more. And maybe information on 1010 will help us kind of understand a little better too. Is Waymo more of a threat to FSD than Figure AI is to Optimus? Bull 2035.
Hey, Machine. In the past, I feel like you felt inference was going to be the bigger challenge versus training. Are you still in that mode for FSD, or do you think that we're so far off we don't know which is a bigger challenge?
Yeah, I still think inference is a bigger challenge. I think probably in the next year, they could definitely have a model trained on their compute cores that in theory works with a level of disengagements low enough to be, let's say, close to human performance. However, that model would be way too large to fit onto their inference chips. And what we see on their inference chips right now are much distilled, compressed models from what they train on. They're already become more efficient and get more bang for their buck, but they lose some performance. So I believe they will have something training wise that actually is really good, and they're just fighting to get it to work on their inference compute. And that's why we see them squeezing more and more parameters, having the 5x parameter model with V12. And I think we'll see another increase in model parameter size. I don't know if it's going to be V13, but as I predicted in my excellent tweet thread a month or so ago, by March.
Okay. We have 1 minute left. Okay. If you want this discussion to continue, go to the top of our screens and like the YouTube video. In 1 minute, if you cross 200, we'll keep it going. All right, it doesn't look like we're going to get there today. Well, we'll try again tomorrow. Thank you very much, everybody. Excellent discussion today. If you just joined us, please listen from the beginning. I highly recommend it. Otherwise, I will see you all tomorrow. Take care.